This video is about the scientific method. The steps to the scientific method are observation, question, research and inference, hypothesis, experiment, analyze data, conclusion, and share. You can always redo the experiment to ask a different question and repeat the process. Same thing with your conclusion. Your conclusion could lead you to different research to repeat the experiment. The scientific method is a way to answer questions using inferences, forming hypotheses, conducting experiments, collecting and analyzing data, and drawing conclusions. When you're doing experiments, you're going to make observations by touch, sight, smell, taste, and hear. You're going to ask a question. In life, you make a lot of observations. You always ask what, when, where, when, who. An inference. You do background research. Inferences are explanations for an observation you have made. They're based on your past experiences and prior knowledge, like a guess, an educated guess. 1, you want to ensure that you're not repeating mistakes from the past. And 2, you'll be able to form a hypothesis, a reasonable hypothesis. A hypothesis is you're going to make a statement. If I do this, then this will happen because. Experiment. Test your hypothesis by doing your experiment. You're going to look to see if your experiment is true or false. If it's false, it doesn't mean it's wrong. If it's false, it just means you could redo it in a different way to come up with a different result. All the results that are found help others lead to different research. But in order to do an experiment, you have to have variables. So you have independent, dependent, and control. Independent is by itself. It's what you control. It's what you are changing in the experiment. Dependent happens because of the independent. Control is something that stays identically the same. So for example, in our clothing, our colored shirts or jackets and our different types of material, the independent would be we changed the color, we changed the material. That's our independent variable. The dependent was how much temperature it changed based upon being heated up. We had no control over how hot the clothes or the material would get. That is the dependent. The control was they used the exact same light, 60-watt light bulb. Here's an experiment example. Smithers thinks that a special juice will increase the productivity of workers. He creates 2 groups of 50 workers each and assigned each group the same task. In this case, they were supposed to staple a set of papers. Group A is given the special juice to drink while they work. Group B is not given the special juice. After an hour, Smither counts how many stacks of papers each group had made. Group A made 1,587 stacks. Group B made 2,113 stacks. Identify the control group, independent group, and dependent group. So what did he control? He controlled the drink. What could he not predict or have any control over? How many stacks of papers they did, and what stayed the same through the entire experiment. You had 2 groups. You had a control group and you had a variable group. The control group was the one that did not get any juice. Analyze data. Observe. Did your data support your hypothesis? So you go back and look at your hypothesis and you decide, did my data support that? So when you did the experiment with the shirts or jackets and the change in material, you looked at, did you say that it would get warmer with the darker colors and the heavier material? Then you would say you support your hypothesis, so on and so forth. To analyze your data, what does the data mean? So you collected changes in temperature and you're looking at, does that support what we just said? The darker colors, the heavier material. Does that support your data? Analyze. Quantitative means numbers. Qualitative means what did I see? So quantitative is an observation that is described with words. 1, deals with descriptions. 2, can be observed but not measured. 3, colors, textures, smells, appearances. Quantitative, quantity, is a number. It describes a mathematical equation. 1, deals with numbers. 2, data which can be measured. And an example, length, height, area, volume, weight, speed, time, temperature, humidity, sound levels, cost, members, age, etc. Anything that measures numbers. Conclusion. Draw a conclusion. Once you've analyzed your data, check to see if your hypothesis is true or false. False hypothesis, you will have to go back and try again. Usually you ask the question a different way. Now that you have data to support your thoughts, you can rewrite your hypothesis to support your data and redo the experiment. True hypothesis, perform the experiment again to ensure that you had the right thing. Maybe it was a fluke, so you do it again to verify your findings. Sources of error. Equipment may not be measured accurately. Sample population was not large enough. Human calculation error. Human use error. If you tell people to drink half a cup and they drink the whole cup. If they were supposed to suck on candy and they chewed the candy. There's several areas where this could be human error. It is important to avoid errors to ensure that results of the experiment are accurate. Anytime you're using human or animal or anything that is involved in an experiment, you have the possibility of this type of error. Communicate. Sharing conclusions. Professional scientists share their findings by publishing their final reports in a scientific journal by presenting their results on a poster as a scientific meeting. So they're journals that show you the research that's been done, and they follow the same exact process, the scientific method. Same process we just walked through. They love to share what they know. Some don't or didn't, and we'll see that when we talk about genetics. Scientific theory. A well-sustained explanation of some aspects of the natural world that is acquired through the scientific method and repeatedly tested and confirmed. It's not law, it's theory. It means it's been tested and confirmed through observation and experiment. That is the end of this PowerPoint. If you have any questions, be ready to ask them. I'm looking forward to having the questions to answer.